We're going to have to break into coverage here tonight because we have a tornado warning in effect for Oldham County. This is a storm that came through Louisville. This storm had 55-mile-an-hour winds in the metro, and a lot of people in southern Indiana, when this came through, reported extremely strong winds on the storm. And then it moved into Oldham County, and it generated on the tail a little break in there. And that little break in there was able to take advantage of the fact that these winds are changing direction as we go upward in the atmosphere. And now we've got a tornado warning here. So the tornado warning is in effect for Oldham County, for Henry County, and a northern fringe of Shelby County. This is a look at the warning right now. So we've got a tornado warning here for Henry, Oldham, Shelby County until 8:30 p.m. So we're going to stay in this, obviously, until at least 8:30. 3/4 inch size hail. We had a lot of reports of some very powerful winds as this came through. Whether this was tornadic or not, we definitely have seen some 60-mile-per-hour winds here. Rick, on radar, it doesn't show a massive amount of rotation, but there's just that little nudge, that little push on the southern side that I think the feeling here is under the conditions, because we know that we've got those winds changing direction with height, that we're going to play this a little bit closer to the vest.
Right. The instability of the fuel isn't sky high, out of control or anything, but we have that directional shear, and anytime you go from the surface up into the atmosphere and you can create that twist, then you cannot rule out an isolated tornado. We've been saying that all evening long. So obviously inside of the severe thunderstorm warning, which, by the way, that one goes until 8:30. We also have a tornado warning, which goes until 8:30. So you can be simultaneously inside not only a severe thunderstorm warning, but also a tornado warning. So what I want to just kind of do is give you a quick tracker on this. So the southern edge, where we're seeing that area of rotation, it isn't crazy strong.
It really isn't.
But what I want to do is just at least give you an idea as to where this is going and when. So we're going to track it off to the east, going 40 miles per hour mark.
Okay, and I'm going to take this over to the wall here real quickly. Rick's tracked on where we see the rotation, but as noted, the rotation, it's not exceptionally strong right now. At the same time, we've got a number of people that have reported in this area exceptionally strong winds. Whether those were straight line or tornado, I think that the concern here is let's not take the risk. So Smithfield, 8 minutes from now. In Eminence, you need to take your tornado safety precautions, my friend. 14 minutes from now until this is in your area. 17 minutes from now in the Bellevue area. And then Pleasureville around 20 minutes. So very specifically, this move between Crestwood and right along 71. So if you got off the Crestwood exit and went directly south, that's where the area of rotation moved through. And we have some reports of exceptionally strong winds reported out of Crestwood. Again, I can't tell you whether they're straight line or tornado, but it is possible that this was indeed a tornado. And that is going, that area of rotation. Rick, can you just take me in a little bit tighter here? I believe this is right along 22 here. So that area of rotation has gone through center field. This is 22, so if you're in Louisville, this is Brownsboro Road. So you can follow 22 right into Smithfield. And that area of rotation right now is near LaGrange Parkway and 22. This is where I need you to take your tornado safety precautions. Now, when we look at that area of rotation and we look for debris in here, what we would be looking for is a very dark blue hole. And you're like, well, there it is. There it is near Chestnut Grove. However, the area of rotation is not there. We went through this in the last storm where there were reports that there was debris and it was erroneously reported as a tornado. We have to be really careful when we look for this debris to make sure it follows the rules. And we know that area of rotation is right in this notch right here, right along 22 past LaGrange Parkway now. And Rick, I think if you're in Smithfield, considering the motion on this thing, I've got to be in my tornado side. If it's my family, I'd say in Smithfield, this is about to be on top of me within the next 60 seconds.
I mean, it's not negotiable, in my opinion. I would say you are under this warning, and for good reason. It has shown signs of rotation. Whether it's as strong as it once was does not really matter because it can tighten up in the blink of an eye. So Smithfield, Eminence, North Pleasureville, Bethlehem, you should all be in your safe place. This storm cruising east at 40 miles per hour, which does mean it will overtake the rest of the county here within the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. And along with that, just to give you a quick little update, Louisville's now on the
I know.
the fringe of seeing more severe storms, and we have severe thunderstorm warnings, which are through much of Floyd County, and we have severe storms, which
And this is an area that got hit, Rick, already.
that already got the the fact that these storms are sustained with this level of intensity after the heavy rainfall says something.
I think these are, what I think here is these have hooked up along the boundary. From the storms that were near Seymour, they laid down a boundary that is now sitting very close to Louisville, and that boundary now, these storms have hooked along there. Now, they're on the cooler side.
Yes.
So generally, normally, we would expect under this scenario damaging winds to be the primary threat. But when you hook on a boundary, if it just crosses onto the warmer side briefly, it can spin real fast.
Right.
And I think that's what we're seeing.
That's exactly what we're seeing here. So again, if you live in Henry County or northern Shelby County, then this is your time to go ahead, get downstairs, and stay in your safe place until we give you the thumbs up. We're not going to tell you to go down there and just stay down there forever. I mean, we want you to make sure that this is going to be only 20 minutes of your life, and that's it. But this 20 minutes, this decision is a strong one because we do have a tornado warning, which again isn't showing any signs of debris being lofted at the current moment, but we're keeping an eye on that potential. Now, let's say we did find debris, then obviously our tone, the escalation, how we speak to you would be a lot different. But we are not seeing that right now, which is a good thing. But still, nonetheless, it's a powerful storm. We haven't seen much, if any, severe weather so far this April. I mean, we have some opportunities, but this is the first legit time here that we're seeing severe weather, and it just so happens to be Derby week.
I feel bad saying this, but I don't want any severe weather. We need this rain exceptionally bad. It's one of those where you're sitting here covering a tornado warning. You're obviously hoping for the communities that there's no damage, no harm, nobody gets hurt. But you see that rain, and all you can think of the fact is we desperately, desperately need that rain. Now, we have a real-time way, obviously, to tell you whether a storm is doing damage. And now we have official, obviously Louisville has had damage. So there are 6,000 people without power. When we first came on air, that number was 450. So that's gone up by 5,500. 5,500 new customers in Louisville are without power, 239 in Oldham County. So those numbers have gone up as well. Look, I think we can accurately say we have a storm now that's doing damage and has a history of doing damage. We have a storm with rotation that we're watching that is basically now near Eminence and near Newcastle. And I'm going to head back to the wall just so we can again assess location, give very, very specifics so that you can make good educated decisions on how you want to protect your family. Rick, let's scope just so we can get that area rotation down. One thing you'll note here, quite a bit of lightning. So that the lightning implies strong updraft. If all of a sudden that lightning goes away, we will know that things have de-escalated. We're not there right now. The area rotation, it's not ultra strong here, but it is that area, I think, that's just northwest of Eminence. Let's zoom in on that area, Rick, just so we can get roads. I believe that's now through Smithfield and is still along 22. It looks like it really hasn't deviated a great amount here. So we'll again get some roads on here. 22 right here through Smithfield. Now, Rick, let's go over to velocity. Just want to get the location. So 22, by the way, goes into Smithfield Road, and then you can see deviates south here. So the area rotation went through Smithfield and is now right here. So this is the area rotation if tornado occurred Smithfield. It would have occurred within the last 60 seconds or so. My hope is it has not. Rick, you have access to analysts. Are you seeing anything that says when it went through Smithfield it lofted debris?
Let me just check back and just go through that particular data.
So Rick's going to go back here in a moment. So this then is now into the more rural part. But now if I'm in Newcastle, I'm thinking I've got 4 minutes to take my tornado safety precautions. I'm getting inside. I'm going to get away from the outside of the house because if a tornado occurs, I want the debris to hit the outside of the house. I don't want it to hit me, obviously. House stuff can be replaced. I mean, I own a home myself, and you know, for me, as long as I'm safe, I'll rebuild, I'll do whatever I have to do. So what I need you to do in Newcastle is you need to be in your tornado safe spot right now. Eminence, while the rotation looks like the initial area is a little bit to the north, Rick, it's kind of interesting. It almost looks like there may be a secondary area of rotation that's developed on the back edge of it. But the Weather Service has advanced the warning now, and that puts that area of rotation, the initial area of rotation near Newcastle. Can you pop me up reflectivity? I'm curious what I'm seeing right here because that that may be a little bit of an embedded rotation in there. You see that?
Yeah, it's inside the line itself.
Right, that may be embedded in the back there as the area is moving through. I mean, it's an area of gusty winds, so it is not impossible for something like that to happen.
Right, and there's a big difference I think we should clarify between the air that these storms are feeding on and the air that the storms moving into Louisville are feeding on, because we have not seen rain and storms.
That's a fair point.
Everywhere from Bethlehem, Christiansburg, and to Clay Village, which is why they're actually misbehaving a little bit more. But Mark, if you look back, I want to show you what's moving into Louisville now. We have some pretty strong winds that are on their way toward the metro. Once again, I know you're saying, wait, we just dealt with blinding rain. I couldn't see my hand in front of me. People were scrambling all over downtown trying to take cover, and that was with the sideways blowing rainfall and those rumbles of thunder. Well, guess what? More severe weather is knocking on our doorstep here, at least the potential for that. Clark, Floyd, Harrison, all under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:30. This is for winds to 60 and also hail, which could be about a quarter in diameter, but perhaps a little bit smaller than that. So here's the storm in Georgetown, in Greenville, in New Albany. And inside the storm, there are some gates which indicates some stronger winds, which could be 60 and maybe even higher. So what you look for are some brighter shades of green. You can see some of those now lining up just to the west of Georgetown. These are cruising east at around 40 miles per hour, which means Georgetown, New Albany, areas like Lanesville, get ready. And perhaps when you get some of those stronger winds, then part of the storm can kind of arc out and can create additional spin. So just to let you know, cannot rule out the possibility of a spin up with that one as well. Tracking this to the east, New Albany, about 19 minutes. This storm will be in your area. Louisville, 27, get hit again. And then 32, Oak Park, St. Matthews, in about 38 minutes. What else do these storms bring? Well, let's look at hail. While you do see some darker shades and maybe a little bit of purple, this isn't massive, large softball, baseball, tennis ball size hail. It's going to do some damage. We saw that just off to the west, but we are looking at gusty winds. That right now is going to be the primary threat. 60 miles per hour or greater. Crawford, Orange, Perry, Washington, you are also under a severe thunderstorm warning, so make sure you are inside and away from windows. That's going to be key here with some of those stronger winds. And we have not had storms like this since all the leaves have been out in the trees, which means there's going to be a little more drag. There's going to be some more surface area for these winds to pull on, which may lead to additional power outages. Mark just showed we have 6,000 plus right now in the metro. Fredericksburg, that's going to be here in 10 minutes or so, and then 15 for those of you in Whiskey Run. But overall, Mark, we've got a lot of action showing up in Indiana, but Kentucky hasn't seen much.
Yeah, in our far southern counties, this may come back to haunt us overnight tonight, unfortunately. My hope here in Louisville, and I don't know how to put this because I feel like it doesn't sound right, but my hope is that these will steal some of the fuel. Maybe we'll get some severe, but the wind energy really cranks after 8 p.m. aloft. And if we let our atmosphere cook all day and we had waited for the overnight wave, we would have a much more serious problem, in my opinion. I know it doesn't sound right that we're saying we have a tornado warning and this is the best case scenario, but I just worry that this line that's further west would have been a real terror had we not had this rain move through. So I really feel that, as odd as it sounds, this scenario is going to protect us some. Looking around some of our cameras, I want to take you into Corydon. Corydon's pretty close to where we have one of those severe warnings right now, and that storm is generally holding and not out of control. Rick, you're looking at chat. What are you hearing from the Weather Service?
We are getting some reports of trees down. A residential structure on 7425 Brownsboro Alt near Old Coach Road in Crestwood.
Okay, so that is exactly along 22, which is exactly where we saw the area rotation go through.
So we're not, again, not sure if this is tornadic or straight line wind damage, but multiple reports of trees and utility poles down. This is throughout the Crestwood and Prospect area. Okay, and we had boots on the ground out of Crestwood, and somebody told us it was intense coming through there. They said it may have been a tornado that was coming through. And that's the good eyes on that one. Then a tree on a vehicle, Bradford Road. This is in Greenville, Indiana. So again, we're not really seeing any specific pattern when it comes to damages, but like we said before, this is the first true test for a lot of the bigger trees and some of the power lines now, because we haven't had a lot of severe weather so far this April, and we're going to keep an eye on this one because there may be other areas of rotation which start to develop here.
It is somewhat interesting because north of Shelbyville, there is a little nub here that is showing some signs of rotation that's near Chestnut Grove. And then where the tornado warning is, so unfortunately we have what we call an aliasing issue on the radar. You'll notice there's almost a hole there. It appears that there may be an issue with signal to noise ratio there without getting into the very specifics of radar analysis. The rotation is probably over Bethlehem right now. So if you're in Bethlehem, I need you in your safe spot. And then Slabtown, I need you to be thinking, okay, if this thing holds, it's going to be in my town in 6 minutes. And if it's me, I'm in my tornado safe spot. As I noted, I'm not playing around with this stuff. And as we look around the rest of our area, I'll put this in motion here from a perspective of Metro Louisville. Again, I don't like the way this is going, in that I'm going to say I'm glad there's severe weather right now. But I am, because I think that what could have come through overnight could have been hellacious. The wind energy got to 70 miles an hour, a mile above the ground. The winds changed direction with height. We have seen that scenario, and it always ends poorly.
Right, usually almost every single county in our area ends up going under some degree of warning. And I know if you have storm anxiety, this is probably worst case scenario. If you own a farm, any sort of agricultural interest, or even for wildfire concerns, yeah, we needed some rain. We needed a very tall drink of water. This is certainly helping with that, although the worst of the drought is to our south, and it's not as bad north. But I think anyone at this
They're
point,
going to get some of the piece of that later today, and they're going to get a piece of tomorrow night too.
And I think that what you said about that boundary just kind of being a focal point that's helping to twist things up. You can kind of see where those storms are lining up right along that boundary, and that is very crucial in allowing these storms to survive a little longer, to be a little bit stronger. The actual tornado warning itself, not seeing a ton of rotation. There is still some subtle rotation inside of there. But thankfully, we're not seeing anything that screams, all right, tornado on the ground, damage is being done. That is not the case right now for those of you under that tornado warning, but I do not want you to get out of your safe place yet. Just wait this one out. I mean, another 20 minutes max.
Max, I think that's max.
I think 10 was probably more realistic.
Yeah, I think that this is probably going to be canceled before. It is also worth noting, Rick, that sometimes when you get rain and you need rain, sometimes you can get too much. The flooding concern here, because we're now getting what we refer to as training, is going to increase from southern Indiana through probably around central Louisville. And the problem is we're just training the rain over that same area. And you can see the initial storm, and then a storm after that, and then another one coming in Accordon. That little tail at Accordon is also interesting. I'm gonna pull up our Accordon camera because I want to take a look. That is looking, I believe, is that looking west still at Accordon? And I'm going to pull up that camera just to verify. But we want to see what's happening with that lowering area. The interesting thing here is look at how still that is.
It is.
It's almost like it's not even moving the wind right now, which is good. But that could change briefly as we see that area of rotation or straight line winds approaching Accordon. Showing you from Louisville, a lot of people saw that mean shelf cloud come through Louisville. Some people even were getting dinner and walked off the curb and stepped in a huge puddle.
That was a river.
Okay, some people were Rick, stepped off the curb into a puddle.
My foot is still wet. It's like.
Well, we were actually quickly trying to get a quick bite to eat actually in between here, and then we were going to do a live around 8 o'clock. But you know, the storms were on that verge of severe. So 2,900 people without power. Rick, significant improvement. We cut out the number of power outages by half. So a lot of times when you have a scenario like that, a tree may have tripped something where they can either get out there and remove it quickly and then reset. But there are still 2,900 without power in Louisville versus 6,000. That's an improvement. And then second, Oldham County 260, but that is LG&E, so there may be more from the localized level. From the, I'm not sure who is. Who's Oldham County specifically, or if it's all in LG&E County. So as far as radar is concerned right now, we're going to take a look here again at where we stand on the area of rotation. Still a tornado warning in effect as it stands. It's 8:11 right now. Tornado warning includes locations like Eminence, North Pleasureville, Bethlehem, Cropper in the northern part of Shelby County, and then a severe thunderstorm warning also included in that area. The area of rotation as it stands right now, yeah, just I don't see much in there.
No, I mean, honestly, just south of that, there's slightly better rotation.
But that's outside the warning.
But that's outside the warning, right? So that the best signs we're seeing, which isn't nothing significant, is on the southern side, which is just to the west or east, excuse me, the west of Baghdad, and south and west of Cropper.
But that may be straight line. I mean,
that may be straight line, right? But that's kind of where we're getting that little acceleration.
Yeah.
Those winds moving forward, that little surge. You can see it in that this little bump. We refer to that reflectivity there. That little push,
notches,
little notch. So we're, again, this is not a situation where we're dealing with very strong, violent tornadoes, but you can't rule out a quick spin up, especially considering what just happened. Considering Oldham County, not sure, what type of damage we have, but we have damage. There's power out. There are trees down. There are people curious, so this is something that we'll be evaluating here over the next 24 hours. But in the short term,
it's worth noting, by the way, that the Weather Service is now also noting what you mentioned, that area rotation is in the severe. Mm-hmm. But remember, they have severe with tornado possible there. So I think my sense is they're probably going to keep that covered by the severe with tornado possible unless that were to escalate.
Right. And for people at home, yes, we have tornado warnings, and that is the sole threat when it comes to that, but there are severe thunderstorm warnings now, and there's a tornado possible tag. So I know you may just see severe thunderstorm and say, oh, I don't have to worry about tornadoes. Well, make sure you look at the information, because with that, it'll talk about the wind speed, it'll say the hail size, but it could also say tornado possible. In that situation, how should you act? I would do the same exact thing as if I was under a tornado warning, probably not as fast as I would, but it's certainly something that is possible.
I would just be ready.
Yeah, that's
if I'm under a severe with tornado possible, to Rick's point, I'm not instantly. I think some people probably would, and I don't blame you. You can choose, but I definitely would be more on edge, because what we know is that it can take one scan, and sometimes it's in between scans. You may be looking at something says, this might generate a tornado, and 4 minutes later, it's on the ground.
Right, and that can happen in 30, 45 seconds. And right now, we are getting updates every 30 seconds when it comes to radar information, but that is good advice. This is kind of the be ready scenario, and trust me, there will be many, many more severe thunderstorm with tornado possible tags issued throughout the rest of the night. So we're going to keep an eye on, again, these little areas, these little nubs that kind of come out and push on the eastern edge of the storm, because that's actually where the air has been untouched. Now, is it almost out of our area? Yes. It is closing in on Frankfort.
Yeah, that one is.
It's closing in on Lexington. The storm in Shelby County still has to get through and make it along 64 through the Wadi Peytonia exits, and just give it another 20, 30 minutes until that gets by. Again, the southern side's not severe, but the northern side's definitely holding together with some stronger winds.
Overall, the weather pattern will show that you've got this initial wave that's now hooked up on that boundary. What is likely to happen is out in front of the main line. The Weather Service, or the Storms Prediction Center, put out a PDS tornado watch earlier. The PDS tornado watch is the worst of the worst of the worst type of tornado watches. I don't know if I would have chosen that particular product in this instance. I do think we're going to get some tornadoes on that line. But you'll notice that the area near St. Louis is eventually going to catch up with the area of rain. And Rick, this brings up a very interesting point. If that boundary is setting up somewhere south of the river, and that main line comes down that boundary later, that northern part of that line may hook up with that boundary and may tornado warn. Now, if that happens, that would probably be from near Breckinridge County through near Bullitt County. That is a very real possibility tonight. So, and then the second part to that is Litchfield, Munfordville, Greensburg, Campbellsville, Columbia, E-Town, Rineyville, Bardstown may be untouched air. And that means that that second line would have a greater severe risk. And then that also means the further north you go into Indiana, Seymour, North Vernon, Bedford, you're probably like, I've already seen enough severe for the day, but it would be less likely that line would go severe for you.
Which means To the north, you're dealing with it now. To the south, you're going to be dealing with this later, which means stay with us all night long.
Yeah, you're going to be dealing with us.
Yeah, make sure. We're going to probably keep you up tonight. And I know some people have, the dogs that get upset and the kids who don't like it. The thunder scares them. So this is probably going to be one of those longer nights. Just be prepared and listen, Mark, we're going to be here every step of the way.
So what we have right now, and I want to let production and master control know that the tornado warning has been canceled by the Weather Service, and we're coming here momentarily. But Rick, what I want to do here is quickly, I'm going to head over to the wall. I just want to track where we stand on these two areas. But master and production, we are going to go back to programming likely within about 2 minutes or so. So let's get you caught up on where we are right now. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. Rick, I see a northern warning here along with this south. Looks like they've just merged this into one. Yeah. Is this severe with TOR possible on this one?
That is severe. Just double checking.
Okay.
TOR possible.
Okay, so what they did is replace the tornado warning with a severe with tornado possible. Why? The rotation came down a little bit. And so what our standard operating protocol here is when we have a scenario that we feel a tornado is more imminent or one has occurred, what we normally do is we go with severe with tornado possible until we feel that the risk is even a little bit higher. So severe with tornado possible includes areas like Newcastle, Daleville, Bethlehem, Eminence, and the Defoe area. Interestingly enough, Rick's on it, the area of rotation that's approaching Christiansburg may be the most significant that we have in the line. Originally it was further north, but that appears to have evolved southward. 5 minutes from now in the Christiansburg area, 9 minutes from now in the Elmberg area, 18 minutes from now in Flag Fork, Orville. It'll be 24 minutes from now in the Peaks Mill area, 29. Rick, can you just give me reflectivity on this area? I just want to see where this is located and if there's a notch on there, because that is definitely an area of rotation about 2,500 feet or so above the ground. But
I want reflectivity.
Yeah, if you could. Okay, so that's embedded, which is maybe a good sign here. If it's embedded back off the front edge, this may be just a transient area where there's been a brief, spin in the atmosphere in the mid-levels, may not make it down to the ground. As the outflow continues to surge southward, these will get on the cold side of the boundary and it would lower the tornado threat. But again, there's just a little area rotation here near the Christiansburg area. I would watch this a little bit closer. If I'm in Christiansburg, I'm going to kind of be on edge. And, if I'm being a little more careful, I might just go downstairs for a little while, just maybe make it a 5-10 minute trip so I don't have to take the risk. Rick, let's go west of Louisville and look at what's going on west of Louisville so that everybody can get a sense on what we're dealing with still. Extensive heavy rain continues right now in parts of Louisville. So this goes from around Billtown Road, Gene Snyder right here, J-Town, arcs around the airport, and then goes north. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning here. This one, it does not show tornado possible. 60-mile-an-hour winds. The warning is for Clark, Floyd, and Harrison County. Great, I've already seen that. I can't argue the point. Widespread heavy rain is in here as well from Georgetown, Greenville, through Shively. Rick, can you give me a view? I just want to see what this looks like here near west of PRP. Can you give me velocity just west of PRP? I just want to make sure that this is behaving. It is. Okay, and then we've got a little bit of a fractional warning left here near Whiskey Run through around Leavenworth. That's some 60-mile-an-hour winds, but that also appears to be behaving. This little nud here, a little rotation area, these are things that we're going to have to watch. These areas that hook on the boundary could show an uptick of rotation at times, and we may end up with evolving warnings as we go through the evening. But this is obviously going to get back into Louisville. There is heavy rain falling downtown right now. I could hear it on our building. It is thumping our building with extremely heavy rain rates right now. But Corydon, you've got heavy rain ongoing. The lightning is not as excessive as it was, but be prepared. North Louisville, west side of Louisville, Shively, Airport, St. Matthews, northeast towards Prospect, Anchorage, Middletown. These areas could, I know this is going to sound crazy, but could get into a scenario ultimately where we could see some flash flooding. So it is 8:21 right now. We have had severe thunderstorm warnings. We continue with severe thunderstorm warnings. We never want to stop you from being able to watch TV. What we're going to do is we're going to move over to the streaming side here in a moment. Continue to watch severe coverage. What we'll do is around 8:35 or 8:40, we will go live on my Facebook. If you're on there, on YouTube, you can find us, and we'll continue to cover that way. If we get another tornado warning, we'll go back into TV and update you, obviously live on TV as this occurs. So right now, as we stand, there are severe thunderstorms in the area. No tornado warnings right now. Keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather updates.
An evening full of storms and all eyes on the skies tonight as we watch for more severe weather. Thanks for joining us at 10. I'm Fallon Glick.
And I'm Gilbert Corsi. We've already taken a hit. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning through 12:30 this morning, and we have seen why it's in place already tonight. That pounding rain turned roads into rivers and forced water rescues. 2 cars got stuck tonight near 7th Street Road and Noble Place. You can see water up to the windows on one of them.
And check out this flooding tonight on Manslick Road. The roadway turning into a waterway tonight. You can see just how much water is on the road as cars drive through that intersection. And this is right by the Walgreens on Manslick Road at Crumbs Lane.
And it was hard for the trees to stand up against the wind. We've seen several trees down. This picture shared by a viewer on our Facebook page. It's in Northeast Jefferson County. Another one was blocking the street out in Crestwood off near Udell Botanical Gardens. You can see it here. And then in the Prospect area at Beachland Beach off River Road, you could see the wind toppled part of a tree down onto a balcony and then tipped over the swing set. No one hurt here as far as we know. And a thank you to the WDRB viewers who shared those images with us tonight. So Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg's been tracking this system minute by minute. Mark, you had said in Louisville at least, us getting this hit earlier tonight may be a saving grace later.
I don't think it can save us completely in our area, but has this helped? I do believe it has, because it's lowered the fuel. But you know what? It came at an expense, and an expense was we took a hit. We took a hit with severe weather. We've got a number of outages being reported around our area. We have obviously the flooding that Gil and Fallon just mentioned, and you can see why. You know, Linden, you see 2.17 inches of rain today. In Middletown, you've seen 2.33. Fern Creek 1.59, 1.77 at our Chickasaw gauge, and 1.16 inches of rain in Lanesville. There's been a ton of rain in the area. As a result, we've got flash flood warnings for Lawrence, Jackson County, Scott, Jefferson County, Northern Trimble County, that's Jefferson County, Indiana, Floyd, Clark, and then Oldham, Jefferson County in Kentucky. Worth noting that the flash flood warning for Jefferson County for Louisville has the considerable tag on there. So there's flash flood considerable threat, and then there's flash flood emergency, and we're at that second tier. We have also power outages, 4,700 people without power in Louisville. We have seen that number peak around 6,000, and notice Oldham County, you were under the tornado warning, you took a hit. 724 homes without power right now. So obviously these storms have done damage. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 4 a.m. and you get it. You get it. I mean, you see there's tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings to the west. So as we look out there now, we've got rain ongoing, and this is heavy stuff. It goes from Seymour, North Vernon, through the Crothersville area. It includes Bedford, Indiana, Fredericksburg, rain, thunder, lightning. In Metro Louisville, while the coverage is not the same, we still have rain right now near, let's say, Brooks Exit along 65. We've got some of that moving into the west end of Louisville. We've got some heavier stuff near Route, near Taylorsville Road area. That goes into Spencer County near Taylorsville. Heavy rain ongoing right now in Bloomfield, and putting us into motion, that still has to move across our area. So I'm going to spend some time walking that line of strong to severe storms across the area when it affects your location and analyzing the threats in 10 minutes.
WDRB weather is sponsored by the Window Source of Kentucky.
In the end of all this, the moderate may be a little bit too high to our west, but for our area, the slight risk is absolutely appropriate. And in fact, I think you might be able to argue that enhanced should come a little bit further in our southern counties. This is not what happened. This is moving forward, in my opinion. Damaging winds, hail, and isolated tornadoes are still in play. And west of I-65, there is definitely still enough fuel. And these storms will weaken at some point. But what happens is there's momentum within the storms, and a lot of times it takes some time, even after they weaken, for the severe weather threat to come down. Hannah Dickerson captured this. What is that? I know a lot of people are like, I know exactly what that is, Mark. I saw the movie Independence Day, and that's the mothership. Well, It looks like it, right? And so that's why we refer to this type of a shelf cloud as the mothership. This was again from Hannah Dickerson from Scottsburg, Indiana. That's impressive stuff. So we still have the severe thunderstorm watch in effect for our area and a tornado watch to the west. There are tons of severe thunderstorm warnings, and almost half of our area is under a flood advisory or a flash flood warning. Look, in Louisville, if you don't have to be on the roads, please don't. Jackson County, I got a report out of the Brownstown area, over 4 inches of rain. We've measured over 3.5 out of Bedford, Indiana. Please, please do not attempt to drive through a flooded roadway. I can't say this enough. I saw some video earlier in Louisville, cars driving normal speed on flooded roadways. It's not the way I want my story to end. I hope it's not the way you want yours to. 3.6 officially the number out of Bedford, Indiana, and obviously we've seen a lot of rain. Rain and thunderstorms go from Lawrenceburg through Bloomfield, arcing through the Mount Washington area, Fern Creek. We've got some of this in PRP. We have some of this near Clarksville, extending through Salem into the Austin, Indiana area. Bedford Mitchell still seeing rain. Extensive, moderate, and heavy rain near North Vernon. And Brownstown, over 4 inches of rain unofficially from a viewer, and it's still raining, and you get the idea. There are numerous severe and tornado warned storms to our west. We're not done. We're not done for tonight. So as we look outside, the good here is that the rain and thunderstorms have cooled the atmosphere in Louisville. We're sitting at 64 degrees. You can see Corydon, and then we'll move up to Seymour. There you go. Lightning. Normally when I go to a camera, we get 0 lightning. Tonight, it's a tough one out of Seymour to not get lightning, as it's been just an absolute crazy light show. Now, what you're going to notice is there's a boundary that extends just south of Louisville. Look at how much warmer it is to the south. It is exceptionally likely that these storms will come down and hook up with this boundary. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times the storms will rotate along that boundary and they can tornado. And that boundary right now goes from around Hardinsburg through Shepherdsville through around, let's say, Bardstown. We've got to watch that area real close as these storms come across the area tonight. And the dew points are starting to surge ahead of that line to 66 in Evansville. Advanced track shows it's in our northwest counties near midnight. This includes Seymour through around Bedford through Paoli. The line is approaching Louisville, Madison through Louisville around 1 a.m., extending through Hardinsburg. You can see it's just blowing up into massive area of rain in the southern part of our area. At 3 a.m., you've got really, really needed rain in Munfordville, Greensburg, Columbia, and then it pulls out of our area by tomorrow morning. I can guarantee you that we're going to see more warnings tonight. I'm not telling you I think we're going to see more warnings tonight. I'm telling you I can guarantee you. 65 with a south wind to 10 to 20, 100% chance. The flooding will get worse tonight before it gets better. 80 degrees with a 60% chance tomorrow. Let me be clear. If you're heading out to 5-0 Tuesday, this is not during the day. This is really overnight. 50% chance early Wednesday. And then for Thurby, we're looking at 64 degrees. We're going to spend a little bit more time on Thurby Oaks and Derby in 10 minutes.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mark. One Park Hill Street has been the site of 3 murders in just a few weeks.
We don't come outside because how much shooting it is up here.
What else neighbors shared with WDRB about the increasing violence on one block?
Mark Weinberg's WDRB weather forecast has the seal of approval from the American Meteorological Society.
Okay, Mark, we had some strong storms this evening, and more severe weather could happen overnight.
We're going to see more severe weather tonight. Before we jump fully into the severe, I still can't ignore the fact that we have 3 huge track days coming up.
Yeah.
So Thurby, Oaks, and Derby, I know a lot of people are preparing beyond this. So before we jump into the severe, I felt it was important to get a touch on these days because I do think obviously this is one of the biggest weeks of the year in our area. So the big track days at Churchill Downs, obviously 5-0 Tuesday is when it gets going, but Thurby, Oaks, and Derby are the real big boys. In fact, Oaks, Derby are. 64 on Thurby, I think we're trying partly cloudy. I've got a 30% on Oaks. To be transparent, nothing shows all day rain. It just really shows it late. And Derby's somewhat of an oddball here. I'm going to go with 60. I think there's going to be quite a few clouds. What I believe is there's going to be a storm trying to go underneath us. Almost all the data says it misses us, but sometimes these storms climb a little bit further north as the week progresses. To represent some uncertainty on Derby Day, I'm going to put a 20% in there. I'm going to go with a high of 60. Nothing's changed on that. It is going to be chilly. The severe threat, I don't know that this moderate, when it's all said and done, will have been justified. The enhanced has been absolutely adequate. Damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, and hail are still possible. And I want to say that again, are still possible. We're not done. We are not done. The rain helped. It did not get rid of the chance. It helped. Severe thunderstorm watch until 4 a.m. includes our entire area. Obviously, the Weather Service, Storms Prediction Center going with severe thunderstorm watch tells you that the tornado threat is not zero, but it's not as high as it is, let's say, to the west. You can see we've got flood warnings here for Jackson, Jennings County. We've got flood watch here for Lawrence County, Orange, Washington, Scott, Jefferson, Trimble. We have flash flood warnings. And then also for Floyd, Oldham, and Jefferson County. And be aware, the Louisville warning is not a small one. It has a considerable tag on it. It's dangerous stuff. Over 2 inches of rain has fallen in parts of Louisville, and we've had numerous reports of water rescues. You'll notice we've got rain and thunderstorms now from Scottsburg, Lovett, Seymour. Parts of Jackson County near Brownstown have seen over 4 inches of rain. We've got severe thunderstorms just to the west. We've got rain now in J-Town and Anchorage, and basically we're kind of, it's not calm, but we're in the calm before the storm. And you can see the line here, everything is warned. Some of this is warned way out into the future, and we've got embedded tornado warnings. That's what we're going to see, is severe thunderstorms with embedded tornado warnings. 1.47 inches of rain has fallen so far in Louisville today. So this number, this deficit's going to drop down some, and with more rain tonight, we're going to chew out a big hole in that rain deficit. 64 in Louisville with an east wind at 14. Excuse me. As we view New Albany and Seymour, we've got cloudy skies with lightning, rain. There you go. Lightning strikes happening, and then at Accordon. And as I noted, what's interesting about this is the northern part of our area is cool. It's not cold. This will still support some severe, probably through 65. The southern part of our area is night and day different, near 80. And there is very clearly a boundary that goes from around Hardinsburg through around the Shepherdsville area through north of Lebanon. And I'm going to tell you, this is a favorite area for tornadoes to form on this as we go overnight. A lot of times you get rotation along these boundaries as the squall line moves through. And the dew points are surging ahead of this. There is every reason to believe that we are not done. The rain helped. The rain did not eliminate the threat. So this gets into our western counties close to midnight. You can see it goes from Seymour, Bedford through Paoli. It's approaching Louisville somewhere around 1 a.m. You'll notice at this point you're not looking at as many of the brighter reds. You're not looking at any blacks or any whites. So the intensity is slowly coming down. How quickly will that happen? It's a challenge. Second, I will note the data is horrifically wrong on the temperatures in the southern part of our area, and I have every reason to believe that line will be more intense than the data indicates. 3 a.m. you're from Frankfort through around E-Town through Munfordville, and by 7 a.m. that's gone. Now 5-0 Tuesday is going to be dry out at the track. The reason I have the rain probability is very late in the day and overnight, and this is likely to last into very early on Wednesday. After that goes by, our rain probabilities start to tail. So I'm going to show you the data. This is not rain that's already fallen. This is additional. And the data shows additional rain of around 1 inch to 1.5 inches on top of everything you've seen. So the flooding, there's going to be more of a risk tonight. 100% chance of strong to severe storms tonight. South wind 10 to 20. Tomorrow the high comes in at 80 degrees. We've got a 60%. But again, I want to be transparent. If you're going out to the track, you got nothing to be worried about here. And then into the extended Wednesday morning, some showers. I think most of that's gone for the steamboat race. Thurby, Oaks, and Derby we've talked extensively about, and it gets a lot colder. Derby Day, ladies, be aware the high of 60 means, let's say it's a sleeveless dress, you need to have something to keep you a little bit warmer than that.
Listen, we're going to be
Thanks for joining us tonight at 11. I'm Fallon Glick. It has been an evening full of storms, and we are tracking possible severe weather closely tonight. Rick DeLuca is here to break down the threats. But first, the National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning through 12:30 this morning. We've seen why it's already in place tonight. That pounding rain turned roads into rivers and forced water rescues. If you look here, 2 cars got stuck tonight near 7th Street Road and Noble Place. You can see water up to the windows in this video right here. And check out this flooding tonight on Manslick Road. The roadway turning into a waterway tonight. You can see just how much water is on the road as cars drive through this intersection. And this is right by the Walgreens on Manslick Road at Crumbs Lane. And it was hard for the trees to stand up against the wind tonight. We've seen several trees down. This picture was shared by a viewer on our Facebook page in Northeast Jefferson County. Another one blocking the street in Crestwood near Udell Botanical Gardens. And then in the Prospect area at Beachland Beach off River Road, you can see the wind toppled part of a tree onto a balcony and tipped over a swing set. And we want to thank you, our WDRB viewers, who shared some of these images with us tonight. So it was a very active area tonight for our first responders, and now we want to bring in Rick DeLuca, very active for you as well.
Right. Flooding and wind, the main 2 topics you covered. And I'm going to tell you this, Fallon, we're not even done for the rest of the night. We'll see another wave of storms, which means more flooding, more wind damage will most likely occur. So please, I need you to stay weather aware. We have your back every step of the way. Online, you can download our app for free and also follow us on Facebook. Mark Weinberg's in the back. We are not leaving until these storms make it through. And there is another round on the way. But first things first, what Fallon mentioned, flash flood warnings, not only for Jefferson County of Kentucky, but also Jefferson County of Indiana, Scott County, Washington, Orange, and then Floyd and Oldham County, the southern portions, under that flash flood warning as well. On top of that, we have a severe thunderstorm watch. There aren't any warnings in our area, but they are banked up against our northwestern communities, which means we still have a ways to go. Inside the metro, non-severe thunderstorms that we're seeing, bursts of rainfall, some rumbles of thunder around Audubon, Dale through Minor Lane into Smyrna as well as Newburgh, and then lighter rain in Butyl, heavier rainfall once you get through Middletown through Hurstbourne. Back into Shelby County, some areas with some light rain, areas where you get a pocket of heavier rain. Not seeing much in the way of lightning around Cox's Creek, but definitely a downpour for you. This is the strongest storm that we have on the map around Madison, arcing through Republican into Saluda, some gusty winds, and can't even rule out some hail less than 1 inch in diameter. Here's another thunderstorm in Driftwood, Brownstown, and then downpours along 64, traveling off to the west from Whiskey Run through Fredericksburg into southeast. And then this is what's moving in our direction. Severe thunderstorm, not in our area, does include Davies, Greene, Knox, and Sullivan County for considerable tornado possible, 70-mile-per-hour winds, and 1-inch size hail. Multiple threats out there tonight with the flooding and the wind at the top, but can't rule out another isolated tornado warning or 2. This line, while it is going to lose some steam, it's going to hold together well enough that we will see more warnings in the coming hours. And I would say in Louisville, between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning is when that looks most likely. Right now in Louisville, it's 64, dew point 62, so it's warm, it's humid, with that east to southeast wind around 9 miles per hour. And we do have cooler temperatures than the numbers to our south, and that's where I'm most concerned about severe weather. As we go through the night, temperatures will start around 62, end around 61, but drying things out after 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. More storms are likely tomorrow. I'll let you know the zone where they could be strong to severe and talk about Thurby, Oaks, and Derby in about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Rick.
WDRB weather is sponsored by the Window Source of Kentucky.
Lots of storms this evening, Rick, and it sounds like it could still be a busy night for you late into the evening, late into the night tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be tomorrow. We're not even close to being done, and we're going to end up seeing Jude Redfield because we're going to have to hand this one off from one ship to the other. Now, here's the thing. It's double trouble tonight. It's not just the fact that we have flooding. There's also more storms with strong winds moving in our direction. And while the threat for tornadoes isn't as high, it still exists. And we're going to probably see a multitude of severe thunderstorm warnings, and then there'll be bigger blanketed warnings. And then inside of those, where they can identify areas of rotations, we will probably have areas where tornado warnings are issued. So we're going to take it one step at a time, and we're going to be here for you through the whole thing. First off, flash flood warning. Jefferson County of not only Kentucky, but also Indiana, Oldham, Southern Clark, and Floyd County included as well. We've seen so many water rescues, so many roads turn into rivers. Please turn around, don't drown. It's not worth the risk. Just stay at home. Scott, Washington, Orange, also under the flash flood warning. Currently, we are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 4 a.m. and severe thunderstorm warnings are banked up right against our northwestern counties. So let's see what's going on for now. In Louisville Metro, we're seeing some lighter rain and some bursts still showing up with some rumbles of thunder. One where 265 meets up with 64 around Lake Forest. Middletown seeing that heavier rainfall. It's lighter in Smyrna Butyl, but heavier just south of there around Minor Lane. Traveling 64 to Shelbyville, you're about to get a quick burst of rain, not seeing much in the way of lightning with these downpours around Bardstown through Van Buren, but there's still some out there. This is the strongest storm we have on the map. Some nickel-sized hail, 45-mile-per-hour winds from Milton through Monitor down through Bedford. That tracking north and east. We have rain and storms ongoing in Seymour, North Vernon, through Grassy Fork, and into the Gibson area. And then south of that, Livonia dealing with a thunderstorm that's not severe. Southeast Oregon Springs. But look at what is moving in our direction. A line of strong thunderstorms, which is also severe warned, and even once in a while you see that embedded tornado warning. And we have to get through that arriving here in Louisville, I would say around midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning, which means, yes, you're going to be a little tired on this Tuesday because we do have to make it through yet another round of storms. And outside right now, it's 64. It's cooled down substantially since the high of 79 in Louisville. Dew point around 62. And I want to show you the difference from north to south. And Seymour at 60. The dew point's 59. You've seen a lot of rainfall. The atmosphere is cool, a bit more stable than compared to E-Town when you look out there. The temperature's 76 and your dew point 61, which is why south of 64, west of I-65, that is the zone for the greatest potential at seeing the strongest storms, although I do think a good chunk of our area will go under warnings once again. Feels like the mid-60s, and then tomorrow, another opportunity for thunderstorms late in the day. It's like we go from feast to famine, no rain at all to flash flooding ongoing, and our southern communities have to be on guard for some strong storms tomorrow evening. Advanced track showing storms northwest in Indiana around midnight. In Louisville around 1 o'clock in the morning. They are here. They're ongoing at 2. And then move to the Kentucky side of the river by 3 o'clock in the morning. By 4, we still have them in areas like Campbellsville through Munfordville. Then after 5, we finally shut the storm chance down. Now, Tuesday morning, maybe a little shower or two. Otherwise, we're going to see a break around midday. More storms tomorrow evening, especially to our south. Those could be on the stronger side. Here comes the front by Wednesday morning. Kind of soggy start to the day on Wednesday. By the afternoon, we dry things out. And then for Thursday, the weather looks great. It is going to be on the cooler side, but cooler also means calmer. A mix of clouds and sunshine, temperatures in the 60s. Another front arrives on Friday for Oaks, bringing the chance for a couple of showers. And then right now, there's a slim shower chance for Derby, temperatures in the upper 50s. So no matter what, you want to bring the jacket to Derby, something that's warm and maybe even something that's waterproof because it is going to be a cool day. But that slim shower chance, it still exists. Strong storms tonight. Low temperature down to 65 degrees, and they will be here in the coming hours. Storms also possible late tomorrow to our south. Has the greater potential. We're at 70 with morning showers on Wednesday. Shouldn't impact the great steamboat race. Cools down for Thursday. For Oaks on Friday, a few showers possible. Better opportunity during the afternoon. And then Saturday, some sunshine. Can't rule out some spotty showers with temperatures only in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees.
Thank you, Rick. A Georgia football player, it will probably be a wet, muddy track after all the rain that we've gotten tonight.
It's going to be a little bit soggy, but some people are saying hallelujah, we finally got some rain, but others is not a good situation. We have flooding and more severe weather potential. Actually, just got a new warning in Lawrence, Jackson County. Under that warning for 60-mile-per-hour winds, hail less than an inch in diameter, and even the possibility of tornadoes. So expect a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings, and then maybe inside of those, an isolated tornado warning or two. Best chance for that would be south of 64, west of I-65, like Breckenridge, Meade, and Hardin County.
Be safe tonight, everyone.
ear when we're ready. And what you'll see then is you're going to see the open roll, and then you'll see exactly what we do during our television warning coverage. Let's roll it now. For those of you that are joining us on TV, we were in our streaming studio covering severe thunderstorms, and now we have a tornado warning that's in effect for the eastern part of Jennings County. This may be the smallest tornado warning I've seen. It doesn't mean that you don't take it seriously, but
Correct.
I think the important point here is what this means is it may just be a transient spin.
Right, and transient means it can kind of go up, it can go down, but we want to make sure in between the up and down that you don't see any damage in your life, your property is safe. So what I would do is just letting you know right off the bat, this tornado warning is until 12:45. It's only, well, not even 15 now, 13 minutes. So if you can just suck it up, take shelter for 13 minutes. It's really not going to put you in any sort of, long loss of sleep, but I would definitely recommend you and your family just taking precaution here. And Mark, it's also worth noting this is a tough spot to pick out areas of rotation just because of the distance from radar.
And honestly, this is one of the most rural locations we have in our area. Northeast Jennings County is a very, very rural location. I'm going to look at this from different locations based on kind of Rick's point as well. This is looking at this from the Louisville site, which is awfully far off. However, I just want to see it from the Indy side and see if we have any more of a signal. Nah, it's not great. I'm a little surprised that they went tornado warning on this, only because I'm going to change this over to velocity really quickly. I thought that we might be able to stay with severe with TOR possible on this, which is a way that we deal with a lot of these. The rotation, if there is some, is right on the eastern part of the county. So this would be far eastern Jennings County, between Campbell and the Zenith area. Again, these are areas that are very, very rural in our northern counties. But I will note, there is some rotation right in here heading towards Holton. Now, our coverage area only goes through Jennings County. It doesn't mean you're not important if you don't live in Jennings. But obviously, with our television license, we are required by law to cover when these are within our viewing area. And once they breach and get out, we'll see what the Weather Service does. If they allow the tornado warning to expire, we would obviously return you back into your programming. And then what Rick DeLuca and I would do is we would go back into our other studio. In case you're curious, you can always watch us from our streaming, which we put on YouTube, we put on TV, or we put on YouTube, we put on Facebook. Let's see where else. Facebook, YouTube, and we put it on my TikTok page. So if those are ways for you to watch. The warning is until 12:45, but I think this breaches the warning within the next 6 minutes. If you're in Holton, or if you're between the Zenith and Campbell area, we're watching that location for potential for tornado. But again, at this point right now, all we're really looking at is some rotation in this area. We don't have any confirmation. And Rick, you're looking at this from our analyst. I'm going to come over to you real quickly. Our analyst allows you to look within the storm. You can look for things like rotation. What am I seeing? Am I seeing debris? On the analyst, tell us what you're seeing.
So just to give you your bearings, on the left-hand side, that is reflectivity, which you typically see when you open your app, look at radar, or when we're addressing radar. On the right-hand side of that, it's velocity, and that simply samples the winds. And what you can already tell is that in the latest scan, which are now coming in every 30 seconds, the storm itself has now moved out.
I know.
Of the tornado box. This was a short fuse warning to begin with. What I think happened is they probably should have gone severe thunderstorm, tornado possible, but pulled the trigger a little too quickly because they now are surrounding that a new severe thunderstorm warning. But again, I'm not seeing anything in terms of rotation that is concerning at all, and especially inside that box. Inside that box,
it's out.
The rainfall's actually starting to come back somewhat. And I'm just going to look at correlation coefficient because this is a great way to identify if there's damage being done. And inside reflectivity, there is none. It's actually picking up around the Rexville area, just a little hail spike from some of those storms to the south. But I am not seeing any evidence whatsoever that we have a tornado in Jennings County. And the storm itself, like I mentioned, has now moved out of the warned area and completely out of the county and our viewing area for that matter.
And as far as the debris being lofted, we see nothing that would indicate that we're getting a signal like that.
No, nothing like that.
You know, it's interesting when we kind of view this stuff, you can see what's going on around the area. There is still excessive lightning. This is bearing down on Louisville right now. I'm just going to turn the lightning off because it's too much. It's just sometimes difficult to even view. But you can see that this is now moving, basically approaching Corden. I'm going to put our Corden camera up just because we can take a look. It has been intriguing to watch these storms moving across the area. Remember what we said when we were on TV a little bit earlier. One of the things we talked about is that it has already rained in Louisville. So since it rained so much, I said these exact words. The hope is that this would have stolen enough fuel to protect us from seeing a large-scale severe threat tonight. Thus far, it has done exactly that. The warnings are more towards Indiana. They are less on our Kentucky side. Second, we know that the area of our atmosphere that has not been touched would go from around the Breckinridge County area through around Shepherdsville into our southern counties. And what you'll notice here is that area is in a sense where there's a lot more warnings in Kentucky. And Rick, if you are just to logic through this, you've rained for several hours, you've dropped several inches of rain, or you can go into the southern part of our area where the temperatures are in the 70s, it hasn't rained. Logic would dictate that we're going to see more widespread severe tonight in the southern part of the area.
Absolutely. There's about a 10 to 15 degree temperature difference, and there's also a little wind shift that has been left over from these storms earlier. So the combination of that, the fuel being better, I mean, we have warnings in the area that got rained on for several hours. So I do fully anticipate that we will see additional warnings to our south and then east of I-65. That's where the instability is a little bit higher. Yes, it is at night, but the low-level jet or the winds about a mile aloft are so strong that they are keeping our temperatures elevated. We're not really falling all that much. And we're going to see more of these storms start to fill in, which is basically, it's kind of the 1-2 punch for some people. I know you typically get that line of storms. You say, all right, well, we're cooler, we're stabilized, we're not going to have to deal with anything more. But, I mean, Louisville, get ready because there's another one moving in.
Right. In terms of lightning here, yes. We obviously do have lightning that's ongoing that'll move into Metro Louisville. And I'll take you to our Louisville camera so we can take a look at what we have out there. This is a view Louisville looking northwest. Oh, we got a big shelf cloud on this one too. This is shelf cloud number 2 of the day. This one should be epic. It almost makes me a little sad that this is occurring at night just because it's going to be so epic.
Because the first one was picturesque. You can see it.
You were out there too in that grabbing dinner. By the way, worth noting, I asked the Weather Service if they're going to allow the tornado warning to stay in effect through 12:45 because we believe that it has left the county. They said that they're going to update the tornado warning, and they just expired it as of 12:38. So they did expire the tornado warning, but you know what, since we're here for a second, let's still just give you a quick cover on what's going on and make sure, I just want to make sure that the warning actually cancels out of the system, only because when people wake up in the middle of the night, if they see that tornado warning is on there, I do think that it causes you know, obviously a sense of fear. So I'm going to head over to the weather wall real quick. We're going to just cover what we've got. Obviously, this is moving towards Louisville. We still show the warning on the map right now. So while they did say the verbiage expire, until that drops off our map, Rick, I'm not going to go back. I mean, it's in the middle of the night again. You know, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear the sirens going off, the last thing I want you to do is to feel like there's nobody there to help you. That's just not who we are. So we look at the line here. The line right now is not severe from Madison, not severe in Charlestown, but you're like, Mark, it looks the same as it looked earlier. I mean, you've got the bright reds in there, you've got a lot of lightning that's firing off, and all of that would be true. But we're also not 79 degrees like we were earlier. And so that line is moving right into Corden right now. I'm curious how close we are to Corden on this, but it is moving right into Corden right now. We've got lightning firing off near New Albany. We should hear that momentarily in Louisville. So New Albany, Corydon seeing this moderate and heavy rain. What we would expect on something like this is some 40 to 50 mile an hour winds should be the norm. Some of these could be a little stronger. I would again note that the boundary from the earlier storms goes from around Hardinsburg through near around Shepherdsville and then through, let's say, around the Bardstown area. And the storms would have a better propensity to produce severe. In fact, you know, we're looking right now out at Corydon. The trees moving a little bit. Again, the beauty of having our camera network around the area is we can see in the live and the real time what's actually occurring here. I'm going to let this play out for a second here, Rick, but you know, I mean, this is valuable. It just maybe 30 mile an hour winds. It is not overly impressive right now, which is what we'd prefer. But that's kind of where we stand right now. That is the line. It is right on the edge of Corydon. So, and in fact, if there are stronger winds, they may already have occurred in Corydon.
They may just have passed.
That may be it.
I'm sure no one's complaining, especially those who have lost power today, to hear the fact that we're not going to hear the snapping of any more tree branches and power lines coming down. But then you're going to be in some rain. So first some gusty winds, then you get a little bit of rain, you get some rumbles of thunder, which may rattle your windows a little bit. The dog might start barking. You know, the kid might start crying. I know it's one of those nights where it could be a rude awakening with a variety of things that, you know, get you out of bed. But unfortunately, we are not done with severe weather. And this is just something that we're going to have to deal with. But the main two threats by far at the moment are downpours and lightning. And while lightning's dangerous, downpours may not seem that dangerous, but it does appear as though we could see renewed flash flooding. And just keeping an eye on subtle rotation, nothing that's pronounced, but around the Lanesville area. This is a live looking Corydon. There you go. There's a little
more wind.
There's a little more wind for you.
It's not crazy, but it's definitely a little bit more.
No, the tree's doing a little dance. It's, you know, it's springtime. I said it before, but these trees haven't been tested with the winds, with leaves on them. We've had several storms come through where the trees were bare, and we had 60-mile-per-hour winds, which didn't take tree limbs down, which we were astonished by. But when you don't have that extra surface area to drag on, then sometimes you can get away with some stronger winds and less damage. Unfortunately, that's now in our rearview mirror. Spring has sprung, and we just really have had a lack of storms, but making up for a lot of that out there today. So there's a look at Corydon. And here's a look
one
at
thing
radar.
I will mention, by the way, is I checked with on the statement for that tornado warning. They did not cancel it. They pegged it as allowing it to expire at 45.
Okay.
So it's going to stay on there until they drop it at 45.
All right. So it's going to be on. It's going to be on the TV now for another 50 minutes, or maybe the tablet.
It's out of Jennings County. It's gone.
Okay, it's gone.
I mean, the warning's not gone, but like you said earlier,
The storm is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no threat. Listen up. If you are just waking up, you hear the tornado sirens, or you're a little nervous about the fact there could be a tornado ongoing in Jennings County, there's not. And I just want you to just go to sleep, or go back to sleep knowing that that's basically the end of your severe threat. You are on the backside of this main line, which is why the severe threat continues along and south of that, which means Louisville not done quite yet. Can I guarantee that you see severe weather? No, but I promise you, you will hear that rain. It's not going to be the pitter-patter. It's going to come crashing down on your roof. And within that, there's also going to be a lot of rumbles of thunder. It's an electric show to our north and to our west. I mean, usually when we see lightning on our tower cameras, we get excited. Mark and I both know this. And then we put it on TV, and there's none.
Yeah.
Today has been the exception to the rule. We have seen tons of flashes, even some cool spider lightning. But on the front edge of this, from Saluda through New Washington, into Charlestown, arcing back around Prospect, through the Georgetown area, right into the Knobs, you are seeing this rain advancedly quick in, which means in Louisville, brace yourself. There's more flooding rainfall that is moving in. We've already seen multiple road closures. We've seen water rescues. The last place that you should be right now if you're in Louisville is leaving the house, because all you're doing is putting yourself in a dangerous situation with more rain moving into an area that does not want to see another drop. And I know I can't believe I'm saying that, considering we have moderate drought, or at least had moderate drought in parts of Louisville, and this lack of rain has been just just crazy stuff so far this month. Well, now we've seen too much of a good thing. That rainfall heavy will be in Jeffersonville in 7, Louisville in about 15 minutes or so, give or take, PRP 29, and Buchel in 32. So there's the track with that heavy rain and storm action moving into Louisville. Now, Mark, you're seeing a lot more warnings west of us, just not too many east.
Yeah, you know, we've said this, but the area where we have the warnings is the area that hasn't been touched by the earlier rain. And I'm going to tell you one more time that this area is far more likely to get warnings, and I'll tell you for 2 reasons. Number one, it didn't rain earlier, but number 2, the Weather Service knows it didn't rain earlier. And what that means is they know full well that even if the radar shows some wind energy, it still may not be making it to the ground where our temperatures have cooled. If it shows wind energy in the southern part of our area, they are not going to play around. They will issue a warning because they know that it's still warmer and it can transport that momentum, that wind energy, down to the ground more effectively. So it is 12:47 right now. The tornado warning has indeed been allowed to expire here. So what we're going to do is we're going to return you back to programming, and we'll probably end our video, and then we'll just start a new one. For those that have joined us in the streaming part of things, and the world has changed, Rick. There was a time, I mean, you and I have been in this business for a bit, that all we did is really cover TV. And then we added things like this where we record videos that go onto the WDRB weather app. And then things evolved to where we would go live during tornado warnings onto the app. We're now in a world that sometimes we don't go on TV. We go onto Facebook and we do lives there. We go onto YouTube, we do lives there, and we can cover things in a different way. And I think it's kind of given us some flexibility where we can kind of do more of this on demand.
Yeah,
Because there's going to be some people that will say, Mark, this is about to move into Louisville, don't end the video.
And it's really hard to reach everyone, but the best way to do it is to put yourself on as many platforms as possible, because some people like, hey, I'm not paying for cable anymore. Others are saying, well, typically I'm on Facebook, so I get a lot of my information from there. I know different people have different habits and different methods of getting information, and when it comes to weather, we don't want you to get bad information. And there are a lot of people out there giving out bad information on multiple platforms. So that's our goal here, was to make ourselves available in all these spaces so that way you have accurate weather information that you can trust. And, you know, that's basically been the goal all along. And just seeing us now on YouTube and, you know, streaming on Facebook is just something that's kind of been part of the plan all along. But like you said, it's an evolving plan. Always has been, always will be.
So in the TV space, what we're going to do is we're going to return you back to programming, and what's going to happen here is the mics will go down for those in a streaming space, and Rick and I will go back into Studio C. So keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather updates. We hope we don't see you again on WDRB, but if necessary, we'll be back.
Economy, that's 70,000.
Well, we've been covering severe weather for a while here. We were in our Studio C covering this on just Facebook and on YouTube, and we just got a new tornado warning, Rick. And this is when, if you're watching in our stream, it was an area that we were definitely starting to see. It had weakened a little bit. The last scan showed it came up a little bit, and the Weather Service also felt that it did and felt it was time to issue a tornado warning here.
It's the one cell that just won't give up right now. And we've been watching this one as it came across the entire portion of western Kentucky. And right now, this is a warning for radar indicated tornado. Is there any indication that it could strengthen? It's not out of the realm of possibility, but there is a little kink in that line, and we are seeing some greens and reds now coming together. So this tornado warning, it's until 2:45. It's a 25-minute warning. This is located 8 miles southeast of Litchfield, moving east at 55 miles per hour.
It's a fast mover.
It's a fast mover. Go to your safe place. You won't be there that long. What we can do is basically analyze the storm itself, and what Mark has done is turned on the rotation, and that just strictly shows if there's any sort of wind damage going on. And we can also kind of put a tracker on this one for you. So that's the rotation. Mark, I'll let you speak to that before we get into the tracker itself.
Yeah, so where we are here is, and let's pull that off if we could briefly here. What you're going to see here is this is a line of thunderstorms. And what you're going to notice is the line is very, very linear, very laminar, very flat, very similar, all except for this area. What would cause that? What would cause that if there's rotation? So what happens is it pulls the southern part out ahead and then wraps it. So these kinks are something that we look at very, very closely when we're trying to analyze if there could be a tornado occurring. This has very clearly been the strongest storm, as Rick mentioned. He saw strong rotation on it when it was in Ohio County, weakened some, and now it's showing rotation again near the Millerstown area. So if you are in the Millerstown area, you need to take your tornado safety precautions now, which would include getting downstairs, underneath something. If you can go into the center part of the house, good choice. Keep away from windows. Downstream, and this bothers me, it always bothers me, it's got to cross a major highway like I-65. And there are always going to be a scenario where the people that are driving on the highway do not know what's happening. So if you're in Millerstown, you're in your tornado safe spot now. If you're in Upton, this is 11 minutes from now that the tornado would get into your area. The High Hickory area 15 minutes from now, 17 minutes from now in the Hammondville area, 19 minutes from now in the Jonesville area. Rick, let's go ahead now, and I would like to take off of that, and I just want to look at the rotation here. We're going to look at it on this system, and then we're going to take a look at it on Analyst. But the area rotation, let's just zoom that right in tight. It's literally on top of Millerstown. So roads here, this is 224 over Millerstown. Rotation is right on top of you. So the movement on this is going to take it up 224 towards Upton. If I live in the Upton area or the Vento area along 31W, I'm going to be taking my tornado safety precautions now. I'm going to be getting into the interior of the house. I'm going to keep away from windows. But that area rotation is directly on top of Millerstown. Now, Rick, on the Analyst, you're looking at that from a perspective of, is there rotation? Is there anything doing damage? Are you seeing any potential that we could conceivably have a tornado on the ground from this?
In this situation, I am not. What I've done is I've put together a two-stack of side-by-side velocity on the left.
Okay, and let me take you that graphic for you.
Okay, and then there's the correlation coefficient, which just looks like a lot of pink on the right. What I'm seeing is in the area of rotation, I'm not seeing any sort of drop in CC, which would indicate that there's any debris being picked up, lofted, and that would apply to anything from tree branches to maybe some siding. You know, leaves can do something like that, or if it was larger, anything like 2x4s. So basically shingles, we're not seeing anything being damaged at this point in time. Is the storm still rotating? Yes, because we do have the greens and the reds close together. I'm not seeing anything really bright or really tight, which would, you know, give me more definitive answer as to whether or not we have a tornado doing damage. But still, it's a rotating thunderstorm. It is one of the stronger storms, if not the strongest one that we have on the map. I'm not seeing anything in regard to damage being lofted, which is a good sign.
No
is
debris.
it something I'm going to stop looking at? No, it's something that warrants keeping an eye on. But for now, I'm not seeing anything to that degree.
That's good news here. So we'll continue to look at that storm. Anything else going on around our area? We've had severe thunderstorm warnings in other locations. For what it's worth, Louisville has been dropped out of the warning and out of the watch altogether. So Louisville's in an all clear. Mount Washington, Bardstown, look, this is a breezy area of rain and thunderstorms. And understand that this is a strong storm system. So you're going to get some rocking and rolling on this. That doesn't mean that it's going to do damage at your house. I'm not saying it'll be easy to sleep in Bardstown right now. Obviously, you've got a lot of lightning going on out there. It certainly can make you feel uneasy, and that's the view right now. But if your question is, I'm in Bardstown, Mark, I see a lot of lightning and thunder, is this going to damage my home? Lightning can certainly do damage, but we're not talking about damaging winds. We're certainly not talking about hail on that storm. But that's the view that we have out there right now. And you'll notice that the watch has now been canceled out of almost all of our northern counties. All of southern Indiana is out. Meade County out. Jefferson County all clear. Head to bed. Shelby, Oldham, Henry, Trimble, Carroll County. You've been cleared out of this. Severe thunderstorms are near Jackson, eastern Kentucky, and then our lone severe thunderstorm / tornado warning remains now to the south, and that one is right on top of Millerstown and actually now making its jog towards the east. I'm just going to scope that again real quick because I want to see if that rotation is eased up or gone down a little bit. Really, I don't know about you, Rick, but I'm not seeing any real change on this. It seems static, stable frame to frame. And that's not to say, of course, that this can't be generating a tornado, because it can. What I'm saying here is if it is, it's probably a quick spin type of a scenario, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I feel like it was going to be a quick spin scenario, but at some point may quickly transition over to more of a damaging wind, straight line kind of scenario. Once we get rid of that little notch, those little notches always make us nervous, because we know that when you see a little appendage like that, sometimes the winds can wrap around and you may get a brief touchdown. We're not concerned that you'll be dealing with any sort of strong or violent tornadoes. That's not something that you're going to have to worry about, but it's more of that brief spin scenario. It can really happen in an instant. We get scans over here every 30 seconds, new one coming in right now. And it's, again, it kind of, like you said, static. It hasn't changed too much. But again, it still warrants us just keeping an eye on that one. So
yeah, that little notch is there, but the rotation is not crazy on this one. It just...
it's getting a little more muddy.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that we're at 2:30 in the morning. Look, I mean, at some point, you've exhausted the fuel. The data shows as this crosses about 65 is probably when that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's kind of, we've analyzed data all day long, and we've had storms. So every single time that we get new information, we like to analyze that and put it into practice. And we've seen that this is the one spot that has just a little bit, and I mean a little bit of instability or fuel left over at the surface. So once it moves out of that area into an environment that's not as favorable, then we should see this area of rotation come down. But still, we have this area of the greens and the reds coming together, and to back it up is that little notch. So if there was going to try to be a quick spin up, it would be right inside there. You have the winds on this side, reflectivity, the plain old rain that you see on this side. There's going to be a ton of rain. I mean, we've been getting rocked by rainfall, and this is an area that needs rain the most, because you have the worst part of the drought, which, yes, I wish you'd get the rain without the severe weather. Unfortunately, that is not the case right now, which means Upton, the heavy rain's moving your direction. It's already in Sonora, Hodgenville on the edge of that. And if you have friends in Magnolia, Pikeview, and Bonnyville who have been begging, praying, and hoping for rain, well, this is going to deliver, but hopefully this cell will continue to decrease its rotation. But for now, it's rather broad. It exists, and we're still looking at something that's pretty high up in the atmosphere too. So that could be mid-level rotation that may not translate down to the ground, but just in case it does, we are here watching.
And really take your tornado safety precautions. Whether, let me change the speed on this one. Whether it produces or not, it's close. There's definitely rotation on there. I'm going to put this at about 40 here, puts it in the Vento area 9 minutes from now, 17 minutes from now in the Hammondville area, 21 minutes from now in Magnolia, and Powder Mill in around 25 minutes. So it's very, very, very specifically, if you're near Upton to Vento to Bonnyville, it's about 10 minutes away. So you're talking about 240. And that means that if you've got kids, I hate to say this, go ahead and wake them up. Take them downstairs into the shelter, and make sure you protect yourself. This has been a storm that has had a persistent level of rotation. It may have produced a tornado earlier in Ohio County. We still don't know at this point, but it did show stronger rotation. And where we are on the now is this storm, hours have gone by, and it's still showing rotation. So it's a thunderstorm that's had sustainability. Rick, part of when we talked about this, and this was something I went into when we were on TV earlier, there are parts of our area that got crushed by rain. Louisville's one. It dropped our temperature from 79 to 64. And when that second line came through Louisville, while there was a lot of thunder and lightning, it wasn't as strong. No. This area you're looking at has not been touched.
Valid. So
they have had a better set of fuel, meaning Munfordville, Litchfield, even towards Greensburg, you have more fuel. Your atmosphere hasn't been worked over by the rain.
Right.
And the result we knew is this area would have a better chance of severe and a better chance of tornadoes.
Which, you know, unfortunately, we're seeing that with this current tornado warning. But that lack of, or abundance rather, of fuel compared to areas that got rained over again and again and again, it changes the game. It really has an important value in terms of, do these storms have enough to survive? How much further can they go without falling apart? And this one is literally hanging on to what little fuel we have left out there, because now that the sun is down for such a long period of time, it's 2:30, it's not going to make it off to the east much further, but this is the one cell that's just kind of defying all the odds here, and it isn't, like you said, in an area that's favorable.
And we wouldn't let this go. What I mean by that is Rick and I would not go home right now, even if there wasn't a tornado warning on this, because the reason we would not is we know this area still could be semi-favorable for severe tornadoes. And the reason we say that is there is a boundary. The earlier storms laid this down. Storms like to rotate along boundaries because the winds change direction across the boundary. And this is going to be a favorable area for rotation. Jude's on his way in. Jude will at some point we will hand off to Jude. But Jude's going to have to watch these storms just like we are, Rick, until they get out of our area. Our southern counties, which would include areas like Munfordville, Greensburg, Campbellsville, and Columbia. These areas very, very specifically, that storm is still going to have some rotation potential down there. I'm not saying it's high, but I'm also being very, very clear that we would have to watch it. We don't think that we can let this go until it clears us.
Right. So let's say Mark just rattled off your town's name, Greensburg, Campbellsville. You can't be shocked if later on tonight that you do get that alert on your phone. Maybe you get a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible. All of this is going to be on the table simply because that area hasn't seen rain and the atmosphere hasn't been able to cool down. And from here on out, we could see some strong storms to our south tomorrow. The trend is going to be cooler. And cooler means calmer, which...
Yeah. But there's still a thunderstorm risk tomorrow. If you're in our far southern counties tomorrow, like, again, the counties we just mentioned, Litchfield, Munfordville, a strong storm or two could occur. I think Louisville's going to be a little bit too far north. But, and this is during Derby week. I think there's going to be a lot of tired meteorologists by the end of this week. Rick, these are some areas that are still, this isn't an area that's dangerous. This is about to cross I-65 in Hart County. There's a tornado warning with a storm showing rotation about to cross a major interstate. Obviously, our hope here is that we do not see any damage and whatever rotation we have is aloft. But Rick, with that new scan here, let's zoom in here between the Upton and Bonnieville area. It's right near Vento. If you know where that location is, you're talking exactly in between Bonnieville and Upton. So this is going to cross over near Vento along 31W in the next 60 seconds. From there, about 2 to 3 minutes from now, it will cross I-65, Hammondville, Maxine, Magnolia. These are areas where we have population centers, but specifically Upton, Magnolia, Bonnieville. So you really do need to be aware that this could affect some areas. Like, again, Magnolia. If this holds, you're probably talking about 20 or so minutes, but Rick's going to give us a more specific on that one. Rick, storm motion's about 50 on this one, so Vento obviously in the now, Hammondville 7 minutes from now, Jonesville 9 minutes from now, and Magnolia, you've got about 10 minutes. Get yourself in that tornado safe spot right now, or if you want to wait a couple more minutes, maybe to wake up the kids, go down there now, put the pillows down there, that way you can make sure they're ready, get them down there, and then bring them back up. Rick, let's scope inside that storm here briefly just to see. Oh, is that another area rotation you were noting?
I just want to make sure we cover our bases here, that there is a little appendage coming up there near the B area.
Let's just scope that just so we can see in there. If we do have any rotation, that's going to be near the Forestville area, Northtown. Yep, you nailed it, Rick. There is an area rotation there as well. That is outside of our viewing area, I believe.
Yes, just outside, but it's getting into Hart County.
Okay, so the northern side getting towards Hart County. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. But Rick's right, there is an area rotation right here. This is Forestville, that's Northtown. That area rotation is located right there. Let's take a move back to the north as this is about to cross 65. Area rotation radar looking from the north-south. There is still rotation there. You can see the outbound, inbound there, right along 65. This looks like it may have now have just drifted over 65, heading towards the Wabash area and then towards Hammondville. But that area rotation, Rick, can you just zoom me out just a pinch here? I just want to see where exactly we're looking. And then can you give me back reflectivity? So that area rotation has drifted south just a pinch, actually. It is basically near a little south of Vento now. It's very close to Bonnieville. Let's now put that rotation, the velocity back on there. And again, I just want to see what's going on in here. It is rotating. It's not hard rotation. It's just, you know, I think part of the reason they're warning this is because it's on the boundary. And we do see when we have boundaries like this, sometimes even what looks like maybe a little bit weaker rotation can generate a tornado. You know, if it's me, I probably go severe thunderstorm with tornado possible, but there's been times where I do think that you absolutely could justify tornado warning on this. It's definitely lower end, and sometimes what happens in this scenario is we choose the concept of severe with tornado possible because generally they would be transient quick spins when it happens, and second, we kind of avoid the false alarm rate. It's one of the things that we try our best to avoid as false alarming, but the rotation doesn't look great on this storm right now. I don't see if this storm holds them going with a tornado warning or continuing one.
And the Weather Service has kind of alluded to the fact that they're probably going to change the product downstream, excuse me, where they go from tornado to severe thunderstorm, maybe tornado possible with this one. But again, there's still signs that we have these little kinks that are south of that actual warning. So it doesn't mean that we couldn't see additional warnings on the south side of that as these storms progress off to the east, because once again, this is in untouched air. So there's plenty of fuel for these storms to feed on. Also, just while I have you, areas like Willisburg, Springfield, there are some stronger winds moving in your direction. Not severe at the moment, but you know, can't rule out some gusts 40, 50 miles per hour. Still watching again that little kink inside the line that we kept referring to, which is now crossed over the I-65 corridor.
Right.
It's going just to the south, it's right on Wabash. Wabash is about to be right on top of you. And again, not saying it's tornado, but there's just rotation.
And that's coming basically to the intersection between 728 and 357 near the Hammondville area.
Right, and there's 5 more minutes left in this warning. With it being so low on the scale of, you know, concern, it's something that we should definitely watch, but I really doubt that this is going to be an extension of another warning. You know?
How about debris, Rick? Again, it's one of the things that we always do when we have tornado warnings. The exercise is wherever the rotation is there anything in there that could be a tornado? So what we do in this situation, and we just got this situation, is that sea of pink, that's just rain. Or that could be dust blowing around. Either way, it's all the same size.
Right.
What you're looking for is when you get different colors, because what that's telling us is there's something different in the atmosphere that shouldn't be there.
Right, and there's nothing different. You're looking at good old-fashioned rainfall. If you saw a pocket like that blue down there, and it was in a perfect sphere, then you'd be like, okay, that's a tornado debris signature. We're not seeing anything remotely close to that right now inside that storm. We are still seeing some very subtle rotation, but nothing that screams that we have a tornado on the ground. Even the kink itself, it's not very strong. It is getting closer now to areas like Pikeview. And again, this still has another 3 minutes actually until this one expires. And like we kind of alluded to, I don't think this one presents much of a threat. If that changes, then we would hop right back into programming to let you know. But for now, I'm not seeing anything that I'm overly concerned about, and that comes to tornado, wind, hail, all the above within that storm. But you're getting a lot of lightning, and that rainfall is torrential. And just looking south of that while we're on that, again, nothing downstream is warned. This is the only warning that we have in the area. We have a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado warning that will most likely end up becoming another severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, they'll probably go severe thunderstorm with tornado possible. That we think is the most likely. The notch there is not overly impressive.
But another one's coming up.
And there's an area rotation a little bit south of there, also near Munfordville, going over Munfordville. The problem becomes, unfortunately, in a scenario like this, is you can deal with this multiple ways. You can tornado warn everything, or you can severe thunderstorm with tornado possible and cover a lot of this, because you can basically get these areas of transient quick rotation, one south of Hammondville, and there is arguably an area of rotation here that is near the Munfordville area. So we are seeing.
There's a new warning.
And this severe, it is, I assume, severe with tor possible. Let me just pull that up over here.
Yep.
Yeah, so here is the information on that.
That's a big one for tor possible.
So they're going severe with tornado possible, 16-mile-an-hour winds until 2:30 in the morning Central or 3:30 Eastern. So this goes out a long ways. Beyond that, that still doesn't clear our area, though. We said 4 o'clock was going to be approximately the time. And I think that overall, when this is all said and done, it's always Adair County because it's our furthest south. That is the latest to clear. So once the tornado warning expires, and again, I'll note in our production team, we anticipate that in about the next 80 seconds, we would head this back over to programming. And I will mention for those that are watching on the stream that after this tornado warning ends, we're probably going to end the stream for the night here. So I do want, before we end everything, to show what's going on the whole area as a whole. What we have ongoing right now, and we'll do a quick tour of the area, partially because I know that there's still a lot of people hearing thunder and lightning, and you know, I do sense that some people just get nervous. So in Louisville, there's nothing to worry about. I'm not telling you won't hear some showers or some rumbles of thunder. But this isn't going to be severe. This is not going to be severe in Shelbyville nor in LaGrange. You're good to go if you're in Seymour, North Vernon, Bedford. You are good to go to bed if you're in Brandenburg right now, Mount Washington, Shepherdsville. We're good. We've got rain right now continuing in LaGrange. We'll go a little further to the south. Rick noted that there could be some stronger winds here near Willisburg and Springfield. Those could be in the 40, 45-mile-an-hour range. So, you know, it's still going to be rumbling with thunder and lightning ongoing, but the likelihood of severe is lower. And then basically the Weather Service is covering this entire area here that goes from Lebanon, arcs through Magnolia, and then curves south into the Munfordville area, going with a severe thunderstorm with tornado possible. Understand what this means. This means that right now we're not overly concerned that a tornado is imminent. But when we use this tornado possible tag, it's because at times these things can generate a tornado with little advance notice. So if you're worried in that sense, then you go ahead and take your tornado safety precautions, because I have seen it many times. Severe with tornado possible generate a tornado. 3 minutes from now, it's in the Hardyville area. 14 minutes from now, it's in the Summersville area. And 27 minutes from now, it will be in Campbellsville. That is a severe with a tornado possible in that area. No longer with tornado warnings right now. Still some transient rotation near the Munfordville area and some south of Magnolia. But as it stands right now, the tornado warning has indeed been allowed to expire. We appreciate you guys joining with us tonight here as we've had the active night. Probably when this is all said and done, I'm going to guess 80% of our area will have gone under some type of a warning here tonight. Someone under 2 or 3 times. So if we do have any more warnings, we'll continue to come back in. We would come back in the stream as well. We appreciate you guys following with the severe thunderstorms. Don't think we're going home. We're continuing to watch. And if we do get another tornado warning, we would come back in. So keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather updates. Well, we're back again. Unfortunately, we have rotation that is really ramped up here in the last few minutes. The National Weather Service needed to put out a tornado warning, and they did. And I think this is the right move. So where we stand is we've got a tornado warning that is very close to Greensburg, and if not on top of you. Listen, in Greensburg, please, you got to take this one seriously. The rotation has come up quite a bit if you're in the Greensburg area. So please take your tornado safety precautions immediately if you're in the Greensburg area. And that rotation, what we saw 10 minutes ago when the warning was allowed to expire versus now is vastly different. Look at that rotation on the northern side of Greensburg. I think this may very well be producing a tornado right now. The rotation is significantly more than it was. We see a very notable tail when I go over to the analyst. And lastly, I just want to look at what's in Greensburg. There is a little bit of a correlation coefficient drop, but it appears right now, if you actually look on the left and right, that is actually a little bit of hail in there. So I don't know if that's necessarily debris, but this has got significant rotation on the northern side of Greensburg right now. You have got to be in your tornado safe spot on the northern side of Greensburg. Where is this thing moving? Motion on these has been in the neighborhood of 50 miles an hour. This was again, I really want to be clear, was a very, very good tornado warning from the National Weather Service. The rotation came up really, really fast on this one. And it definitely belongs under a tornado warning. So track, motion, where is this thing going? Heading to the east-southeast at around 50 miles an hour. So this is going to put it in the Whitewood area 4 minutes from now, in the Atchison area 13 minutes from now, in the Casey Creek area 22 minutes from now, and in the Clementsville area 27 minutes from now. But as it stands on the current, that area of rotation is very close to Greensburg, but just off to the north. It's between Greensburg and the Black Gnat area. But if you are in Greensburg, you have got to be in your tornado safe spot immediately. Hatcher, Romine, tornado safety spot, Yuma, Holmes. This one is not weak transient rotation. This is notable rotation. This is probably the best rotation that we have seen all day long on anything that has occurred in our area. So this next scan is going to be something that's really, really important, because I think from a debris perspective, we will probably know. And we're getting that new scan in, Jude, here as we look at this. You and I kind of talked. You went through one of those storms yesterday. We talked in the afternoon, evening, and you went through one of them that may have actually produced a tornado yesterday afternoon. But this rotation, I'll say, of everything we have seen in the last 24 hours is probably the best rotation.
Right, and I haven't been awake, obviously, in the overnight, tracking this line as it moved in. But from yesterday through around 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, this is, I mean, it's really not even close. Do you even sleep? Not enough. Not enough. But this isn't even close to any of the other brief rotation pops that we'd see. This is, you know, over Bluff Boom there. Possible tornado. This is easily winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour indicated on the radar with some of that strong rotation right now, Mark.
It's good solid rotation over Bluff Boom right now. Again, going to go between Roachville and Hatcher, and then ultimately towards Yuma. It is significant rotation. I wouldn't say as significant as in we're talking about a high-end tornado, but it is got a pretty good chance that this is producing a tornado right now. I think that you're probably 50-50 or better under this rotation. Again, I would note that this is the best rotation that we have seen. Heading, again, just north of Roachville. It's east of Greensburg by around 4 miles as it stands right now. So east of Greensburg by about 4 miles. And looking at this, it's buried. So what I mean by that is this is not something that you go outside and you would see. Look, it's at night. That's a terrible idea to begin with, but you won't see it even if you try, because it's buried in the rain. That's the area rotation. This is Black Gnat. This is Greensburg. You are basically right in between. And so what Jude kind of did there is, why does the red and the green matter? Well, radars can only see what's going towards them or away from them. So what we then view when we look at something like that is where the wind's blowing away. Well, red is blowing away from the radar. Okay, whatever, that means you have strong northerly winds right here. Well, why are the greens next to it? Well, the greens are coming towards the radar. So if the reds and the greens are right next to each other, it tells us that we have an area of rotation, which we do. Now, what I would also like to do is, Jude, the area of rotation is right here. Can you give me correlation coefficient on this? And I'm going to put my hand right in the spot because now it's buried. If the correlation coefficient drops in this area right now, we would know for sure we have a tornado because it is buried in rain. So I would like to pop on correlation coefficient if we could on the radar here. Again, this is looking over on the analyst. So here's the area of rotation. Greensburg here, Campbellsville here. There's the area of rotation. And Jude, can you do me a favor? Can we on the analyst, can we just one panel that? And what I just want to do is be able to rock between. Instead of having two panels, let's just go to one. Let's go to the most current and zoom in a little tighter. I want to look at that area of rotation, and then I'm going to put my hand over that, and let's now, if we could, go to correlation coefficient. I just want to see if this is under the exact same area. So there is something going on here. And lastly, Jude, if you can give me reflectivity, I just want to see what this area is doing. That may be some level of debris scattering. I don't think that's a slam dunk, Jude, in terms of, I don't think I could say that that is a guarantee that there is a tornado there. But there's something going on, either that straight line winds that's lofting something. I think this storm's doing damage is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and maybe not a tornado right now, but I really do think 10, 15 minutes ago, we might have had a tornado. Right as it was moving into Greensburg. That notch right there, 5 miles to the west of Greensburg moving in.
Right.
And then it balls up a little bit. There's a weak echo region right in there, that little donut. And I think there's a decent chance we had a quick tornado touchdown. I really do.
And it happened really fast. We say this a lot, but there are times where we issue these severe with tornado possible for the exact reason that we just said. Tornado is possible at any moment. It can happen in 3 or 4 minutes in between a scan. And that's kind of where we are. This thing went from kind of transient rotation a little bit towards really tight, and now it looks like it may have occluded or be broadening some.
New severe thunderstorm warning has been issued, so they didn't carry a tornado warning. They put out a severe thunderstorm warning.
Tour possible, I assume?
Tour possible, moving southeast 60 miles per hour. So this is for Columbia, Jamestown, Russell. Those are some of the cities. Again, moving at 60 miles per hour, that's pretty similar to what we've seen with all the thunderstorms in the overnight. Nothing's really changed there. This is going to go for Greene, Marion County, Taylor County. This runs until 2:45 Central Daylight Time, 3:45 Eastern Daylight
So this is where things end tonight. This is going to be the end of the severe weather potential here for tonight. Interestingly enough, in that area when that rotation spun up, Jude, it also showed a notable marked increase of lightning right near Greensburg when that rotation came up, which is something that research has shown that if you have rotation and an uptick of lightning, many times that means a more intense vertical velocity, a more intense updraft. And that area, it does look more and more and more on each scan that the rotation's coming down.
Yep. So whether we have a tornado right now, which is unlikely, compared to damaging straight line winds, which is likely, you're talking about some of the worst of it, right around that giant ball of pink. Those are winds 60, potentially up to 70 miles per hour on top of Romine, just north of Cane Valley. So you're talking about Highway 55, just north of Columbia is where some of the strongest winds are, but still close enough to the core of that storm. This is going to move towards Garland. I want to zoom in here on parts of Adair County, Greene, Taylor, Adair County, that triangle of strong winds, and mention some locations. Again, Garland along Highway 206, while Columbia isn't in this location. It's just to the south there. There's still a lot of wind power about to move into Adair County. Here's Columbia right at the very bottom of your screen as we get your bearings caught up, because once you get into some of these rural areas, it's not quite as easy to find a higher population. You're talking about locations where you might not get as many reports, especially in the middle of the night. A lot of times you get a tornado that might touch down out in the middle of an open farm field, out through some forested areas, but certainly the chance for tree damage. You have lightning. We have more power outages that are going to happen as this moves quickly off to the east-southeast. Highway 206, this is going to move towards Christine. There's not a lot of locations that are going to stand out like, oh yeah, I know that place and I know that place. But those are just some of the locations. Here's Four Oaks Barbecue and Catering. If you've ever heard of that down there, that's going to be in the path of some of these strong winds. But it's all curled up in this one area where it's glaringly obvious that within about 2 to 4 miles here, there's going to be some winds potentially in that 60 to 70 mile per hour range, Mark.
And I'm going to take us back over to the analyst here. Again, what I want to do is view the rotation, view what's occurring, see if we have anything that could be debris. So the area rotation is right here. I just want you to be able to see what it looked like in Greensburg versus what it looks like now. You'll notice in Greensburg, these reds and greens were literally on top of one another. And then as you go into the most recent scan, they are not as close. Lastly, I want you to notice that I'm going to put a little marker right in the middle here, and you can see on the right side, it shows a little hole there. So this becomes an important, is there any rain falling there? Because that could tell us if that is actually debris that's falling from this. So that little thing on the right is in an area where we do have rain right now. So it is indeed possible that there is something here doing damage. Now the question then becomes, is that straight line winds or is that a tornado? I would say that it is some type of rotation would be my opinion. But Jude, when you kind of look there, right versus left, that is some type of maybe a light debris signature there. I don't think we're talking high end, but that is some type of a debris signature there that's on the screen.
There's something flying around down there.
A new scan just came in too, by the way, so that may have been a brief touchdown right there as well.
Mark, if we go back to the other radar vantage point.
Yeah, of course.
I highlighted right in the middle of that strong wind. I wanted to show you what kind of wind we're looking at according to the radar, and we're around 70 miles per hour. That's not really factoring in it being a tornado or not, just what some of the winds are doing there, near 70 miles per hour. It's far away from Fort Knox where the radar is situated, so this is looking up a little bit higher in the sky. Sometimes, you know, you can have stronger winds right down at the surface and they're not as strong 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet up. If it is tornadic in nature, some of those stronger winds are right down at the ground level. So 70 miles per hour, a few thousand feet off the ground, could potentially be 85 or 90 down at the ground if we do indeed have that EF0, EF1 kind of category in a possibility of that brief touchdown of a tornado. That's not confirmed or anything. That's just looking at pure radar information and what the winds are doing according to the radar. And there is definitely some rotating aspect to this, not necessarily something that you would put in a textbook and learn about in meteorology class, but you know that there are strong winds embedded in this as it moves away from Campbellsville and Greensburg now. There are some strong winds highlighted up here across parts of Taylor County. That's not quite the same in terms of spinning or possibilities of tornadoes. It's what was around Greensburg, coming out of Greene County, now moving off to the east-southeast near Kane Valley. As you see that there, there's Clementsville as we move towards Dunnville. So we're going to deal with this for about another 20 minutes or so before we can watch this kind of wind down and move away from Kentuckiana, and then we can get some sleep tonight, not really have to worry about any more leftover severe weather and the possibility of tornadoes. So some of the towns in the path in the next 10 to 20 minutes when it really means business, locate it right up here at the top of your TV. Dunbar Hill, estimated time 10 minutes. You head to Barrett Springs, Dunnville, as we move right down towards Cantown in the next 20 to 25 minutes. So we're going to give the all clear for the big city of Greensburg, all clear from the possibility of any tornado. That was a little while ago. Now we're looking at what's left of that, where it quickly came on strong, highlighted there with significant rotation being noted on the radar, now moving off to the east. There's that quadrant, and it's not a huge tornado warning. I think it's easy to see exact spots where that rotation is highlighted, and also north of the parkways now, getting north of the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkway, not included in any kind of watch. There's still some leftover rain and some lightning strikes, but in terms of potential damage, that's not going to happen anymore. No more wind damage there. We're almost finished out of the severe thunderstorm watch that's highlighted there in the blue. So we have what's left of a severe thunderstorm warning in that orange, and then there's that tornado warning. Mark, how much more time do we have carrying with that tornado warning from the National Weather Service?
So a couple things here, Jude. We expanded the severe thunderstorm watch till 6 a.m. That was initially set to expire at 4. They expanded that or extended that basically based on the fact that we have still severe weather ongoing. The tornado warning is in effect until 3:30 a.m. so we have 11 minutes more on the tornado warning. But what I will say is that rotation looks more diffuse and more diffuse on each scan. Now, that's not to say that there's not some type of strong wind in here. I think what's most interesting about this is the same storm that came out of Ohio County. This came out of Illinois, and it's been going for a really long time. About 65-mile-an-hour winds are showing in this. Now, what this gate-to-gate is saying across this, how much of that wind energy is rotating? It's not showing a major amount right now. And part what we're seeing here, I think, is an evolution. We're starting to see this now take on more of the shape of a bow, which would likely mean that you're starting to transition away maybe from that tornado threat into more of a straight line wind. But here's the reality of the situation. We're talking about another 12 minutes, and this is out of our viewing area. So this is then left. Once it leaves our area, it's not to say that we ignore things, we don't care. But we are still assigned an area of covering, a demographic area that we cover in our viewership area. So once this leaves Adair County and gets out, at that point, this will then be covered by different market meteorologists. But you can see here as we look, remember earlier, it had a tail. It looked literally like a hook. We just don't see that same thing anymore. Now it is a little bit more laminar on that. That area rotation doesn't have quite the hook. It's got a little bit of an appendage here, but it certainly is not what it once had. I still don't think that changes the fact that this may be producing 60 to 70-mile-an-hour winds. Whether, as Jude noted, it's tornadic or not tornadic, it doesn't matter. If your house gets hit by 70-mile-an-hour winds and they're rotating, or if they're blowing straight, it's kind of one of those who cares. It's not fun either way. It's a horrible experience, in particular coming at 3:21 in the morning. So this is a situation where we've got a tornado warning for the extreme northeastern portion of Adair County, one of the hardest counties we have to deal with, partially because just at a distance here, but it is right over Nifley right now. So if you're in the Nifley area right here, I need you in a tornado safe spot.
Hey, Mark, what I'm going to do is take you back from the evolution as this tornado warning came on.
Okay.
And do a comparison between the normalized rotation that's definitely diffused over Nifley compared to what it looks like on the radar and what we were cranked up here with about 30 minutes ago. So this is ahead of the storm. Now, Mark, take over and watch what happens as it moves into Greensburg. It really takes shape quickly.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the rotation really ramped up. We kind of say on this particular graphic, green means go. So you'll notice, number one, it is showing that green sign. Number two, you'll also notice that it has a hook and an appendage in here. So what's happening is the air is rotating around. It's pulling dry air into this little dry slot we call. At the same time, the rotation is coming up. Most of the time on a normalized rotation, when you get yellow in here, a tornado is occurring. And I'm going to tell you that considering that there's a boundary in this area, it seems to me fairly likely that a tornado occurred. Is it a fact? It will not be a fact. Nothing will be until a survey is done. But that we saw those little correlation coefficient drops, remember, in the pink area, that indicates that there was some debris that had been lofted. Second, it's just a significant area of rotation that occurred north of Greensburg. I'm not going to say like an EF5. We're not talking about that type of a level. But versus where it was, this is a notable area rotation.
There was nothing like this all night long.
Nothing.
This is the standalone.
It is definitely the best. And when we then advance forward to where we are now, what's near Nifley, we still had yellows in there. You'll notice as we move towards Nifley, the area of rotation A starts to diffuse, meaning it's becoming wider. And then second, those greens and those yellows are completely gone. So it's not to say, again, that this may not be doing wind damage near the Nifley area, but from a rotation standpoint, and again, just a strictly radar analysis, it does not look like it's producing a tornado now. It looks like more that we're dealing with damaging potentially straight line winds in this area here, as this will continue into the rural part of Grayson County, or excuse me, Adair County, and then pull away. That rotation is just it's not there. This is definitely weakened off notably. Here's the insanity of this, Jude. Yes, it's weaker right now. We said the exact same thing when it came out of Hart County. It weakened, it kind of lost that rotation, and then as quickly as it went through Hart County, it hit Greene County, and it really, really ramped up. So I don't think that this is a storm that you absolutely can shut down on. It's just in a weaker state right now.
So it'll be moving towards the Cumberland Parkway, working over towards Somerset. We don't have to deal with it much longer, as you made that point. That's going to be over. That's really going to be in the Lexington television market, and they're going to have to deal with it. But I know earlier tonight, as storms were initially producing some severe weather, possible tornado up in Oldham County, these were areas that had been hit with continuous rain. You and Rick had made quite a few points about southern Kentucky hadn't been touched. That's where the air was ripe. And you bring up that Hart County had that weakening and then intensification,
right?
The cycling effect, and this can very well intensify and probably will as it moves over towards Somerset and London, as it moves into the Lexington DMA.
Right, and you can argue that this is the boundary that has been pushed south by the storms that were further north. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that this at some point does indeed re-intensify, because it is hooked on the boundary. Now, what about what's going on to the south of that? Is there any concern south of Columbia right now? I mean, that has that little hook, right? Isn't that what's occurring near Breeding? It appears like that in reflectivity, but when we look a little deeper into that velocity, it doesn't look anything like what occurred earlier near the Greensburg area. And again, we don't know if a tornado occurred there or not, but there's some evidence on radar that if it didn't, it got real close. I think it did.
When you see that yellow, especially for multiple scans, and as soon as that went up on that rotation product, National Weather Service went tornado warning.
Exactly.
I mean, it was almost instantaneous. Though it's very common. It's more likely to have produced a quick tornado, in my opinion, than to say it didn't do it. So
I would agree wholeheartedly. So where we stand right now, we're sitting at 327. We've got a few minutes more on this tornado warning. Remember, once the tornado warning is allowed to expire, we'll return you back to programming. The rotation is certainly weaker on this than it was earlier. The severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect until 6 a.m., including the southern part of our area. And Jude, I'm just going to jump in on chat here real quick and just ask them what their plan is moving forward.
I mean, unless this stalled out, there's no way we'd have to be concerned about severe weather through 6 a.m. You can see the lightning cluster. It's down Greene, Taylor, Adair County. Those three, usually the last three counties that with for storms to exit, will continue in the next 30 minutes to be in the danger zone, just because there will be a lot of lightning. One of the things I noted when I was driving in, there was so many lightning strikes all the way up into Jefferson County, even though the storms, the actual center of the heavy rain and the real thunderstorms were well to the south. Lagging behind will be quite a few cloud-to-ground lightning strikes, which will take a few more hours to clear. But in terms of damaging wind, any possibility for quick spin-ups That's right here, the very leading edge of these thunderstorms, quickly advancing off to the east-southeast. So for us, you know, speaking about Kentuckiana specifically, we're not going to carry a severe weather window that's really going to go much past 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:20. Most of that's going to be out of our viewing area, and we'll be able to wrap up. Even if that severe thunderstorm watch might carry a little bit longer, we know it'll be safe to go to sleep, and you don't have to worry about any more of those damaging winds. All of southern Indiana done, some leftover sprinkles. You head from Louisville down towards Pioneer Village as we take it down towards Lebanon Junction, Glendale. Lightning is the concern. It's now south of the Western Kentucky Bluegrass Parkway. The Cumberland Parkway is that zone where travel will not be recommended, as this thing is moving in a hurry. 60, 65 mile per hour movement with this leftover line, what's left of that line that came through, which initially we had expected this to be the main show, which it did have quite the show with it, but the thunderstorms that developed around dinner time last night, heading through the evening, that came in with quite the wallop in southern Indiana, and then eventually down through metro Louisville. That did steal some of the thunder away from this particular line, but down across southern central Kentucky, where the air was ready to explode, a higher humidity, more of that instability, helping produce damaging wind gusts, and more than likely a quick touchdown of a tornado that was in Greene County. Now we're looking at that signature for any possible rotating winds really leaving the building, as we see Columbia with the chance for some damaging straight line wind, not necessarily rotating winds. The tornado warning has expired, correct? That's not on the radar anymore,
The tornado warning expired at 3:30, so that has lofted out. You know, the interesting thing, Jude, is look at their expanding that downstream. Their confidence in at least damaging winds at minimum, and possibly tornado is high enough. As you and I said, this is not going away.
No, this is the air that's saying, okay, I want to do something. I've been sitting here all day, all night, getting hot, high humidity, wind power, and now it's finally time to tap into that. So the National Weather Service doing what they should. They know what they're doing there. It's like, okay, this line's not going to weaken. It's going to come in with at least, at a bare minimum, some damaging straight line wind, 55 to 65 miles per hour. Somerset, Monticello, moving away from us. We don't have to deal with it much longer. So we're looking at Adair County, which I always feel bad for Adair County in the fact that when you're watching severe weather episodes, because more often than not the weather's moving from west to east, this is like the last county to have to deal with it. All day or all night you're watching thunderstorms come in, and it's like, okay, when are we going to get it? We're down here. It's always like that last hurrah down there in Adair County. Well, we can finally say we're almost through. You waited for it. You were on pins and needles. Now we're there at the finish line, right on top of Columbia. Extremely heavy rain. Rainfall rates of about 2.5 inches per hour. This is what the farmers have been waiting for, to finally get some of this rain, which we do have. It's not going to last much longer. And then not to skip ahead too much, because this is ongoing, but there's going to be some thunderstorms later on tonight that come at us with a low-end threat for some damaging straight-line wind that we might have to watch and pay attention to for southern Kentucky and the Tennessee Valley, because this boundary stalls out a little bit, that a few more thunderstorms will develop tonight with that heavier rain outlook.
So Jude is speaking of today. I'm speaking of last night.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is always weird, because Jude comes in, works the morning, so he's talking about today. I'm thinking of tomorrow, because I have to go to bed and come back into work tomorrow. So where we stand right now, severe thunderstorm warnings still remain in effect here for Adair County and a couple of our southeast counties. Adair County, Jude's going to watch out as that leaves our area. The tornado warning has now been allowed to expire for our viewing area. We'll continue to keep an eye on these storms. As we noted earlier, if we get a new tornado warning, we would cut back into programming. So keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather updates.